Hello everyone, my name is Alex and this is Zombie Side Up, where whatever pops into my tiny cranium is sculpted into what I hope to be a mediocre at best work of art. Today I'm going to be creating the two boy geniuses who have nothing to do over their 104 days of summer vacation. You probably know them as Phineas and Ferb. To start off, I'm going to take this misshapen ball of clay, poke two holes in for the eyes, and then using my silicone shaper, I'm going to sketch out where I want the mouth to go. Afterwards, I'm going to plop in two eyes that I somehow overcooked. And once that's done, it's time to add on the nose. The nose starts off as a nose-shaped piece of clay, and once that's blended into the model, it's time to add on the two little balls that go on the side of every nose. Those get smoothed in as well, and then it's time to add on the rest of the details. Here you can see me finishing off the cheeks. And after that, I'm going to add small snakes of clay around the eyes to make them blend in more seamlessly. Once I'm done blending all of that in, I'm then going to add on what, after looking up, I believe is called the eyebrow ridge. This really makes the face look a little bit more realistic, as that is what I'm going for. After that, it's time to give Ferb some eyebrows. Now in the show, I don't think he actually has eyebrows, but I wanted this to look a little bit more realistic than what the show has to offer. If you don't like that, well, then just ignore the eyebrows, because that's really the only solution. Anyways, I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife to really mess up those eyebrows, make them a little bit more hairy, and then I'm going to add on a pre-cut slab of hair. After adding on some more noodles on top, I'm going to then start poking a bunch of holes in the hair. After realizing that looks absolutely nothing like the hair I want, I just used my silicone shaper to completely change what I was doing. Then it's time to add on the ears, which are just smushed balls of clay cut in half and poked right on. After that, it's time to start bulking out the main part of the body. I do this by just wrapping around sheets of clay until it looks sort of body-like. Once it is all on there and all smoothed out, I can then start adding on the details, like this collar. For the collar and really any other connection point between skin and clothes, I'm just going to add on a skinny sheet of clay and smooth one side in to the part of the clothes and leave the other side not smoothed in anywhere. This adds the illusion of a seam where the clothes end and the rest of the body begins. You'll see me do this later on when I add in the sleeves for the shirt, and also when I do it for the shorts. Here you can see me adding in some more details to the collar, then I'm going to add on the rest of the pieces to make the shirt look a little bit more shirt-like. Once I am done with those details for the shirts, I'm going to start working on the rest of the details. This comes in the form of wrinkles, which are very skinny snakes of clay added on and smoothed in. And then I'm also going to make the sleeves more pronounced by adding on a thin sheet of clay, as mentioned previously. Now it's time to see where my skill really lacks, which is in hand making. I'm going to squish out a ball of clay, cut 4 fingers into it, and smooth them out to make them look a little bit more like fingers. Once that's done, I'm going to blend it onto the hand, smush down 3 of the fingers, and then I'm going to add on a thumb. Once the thumb is added on, and I think it looks alright, sort of like a hand, I'm going to use this sculpting tool to make the fingernails. Once I'm done secretly making the hand off camera, I'm then going to add on this sheet of clay to start making it look like Ferb has some pants on. Now this is just to create the illusion that the shirt is tucked into the pants, and that is why I left the seam on the top not blended in, but I blended in the bottom of the sheet. Then once I'm done with that, it's time to add on the pockets, and after that it'll be time to add some texture. Now, if you're wondering where the texture adding part is, I'm wondering that as well, so if you know, please let me know. Anyways, I'm going to bulk out the rest of the Ferb sculpture with clay, making sure to bulk out the knees, And then I'm going to start working on the rest of Ferb's very long pants. All I have to do here is roll out a snake of clay, squish it flat with my X-Acto knife, and then roll one edge over onto itself. This is because the end of Ferb's pants are rolled up, so this will hopefully add the illusion I'm looking for. Now it's time to do one of my favorite parts of sculpting, which is adding on the texture. This is because it's very easy, and it also adds a lot of detail to the sculpture, which are two things that are very important to me. Now, once all that texture is done, it's time to add on the shoes. The shoes start as a misshapen ball of clay that just gets squished right onto the legs. Doing this allows them to be smoothed in automatically, and also some details added to the bottom of the shoes. In all seriousness, this was a very easy process. I cut off the piece at the end of the shoes, pushed them into place, and smoothed them in. After that, it's time to start working on Phineas. Phineas starts off as a misshapen ball of clay that then gets some lines sketched into it, some holes poked into it, and eventually his facial features are all bulked out. At this stage, I'm not worrying too much about details, as I would probably just squish it all. Once I add on the big piece of clay that sort of looks like a nose, I can add the ball in on each side, smooth it all in, and then it's time to add in the mouth. After adding in the eyebrows, it's then time to start working on the hair. The hair just takes the form of little snakes of clay that were smoothed out near the tip, and then I'm going to angle the tips out in random directions. Then I'm going to add in some ears, and I'm going to add some isopropyl alcohol to smooth out all of my fingerprints. After adding it onto the body, I'm going to cook it, and then I'm going to sculpt the rest of the body off camera. This is because it is the same process as with Ferb, and I know you guys don't want to see the same process twice. Anyways, that means it's time to start painting. To start off, I'm going to give Phineas and Ferb a base coat of a peach color for all the body parts that are showing, and then I'm going to use a darker peach wash to highlight all the cracks and crevices. This will make the face, the arms, and the legs look a little bit more realistic. Once that is done, I'm going to dab on a lighter shade of the same peach color using a makeup sponge I found at Dollar Tree. This is going to add on some needed highlights to areas that might have got hit by a little bit of that darker peach wash. The next thing I'm going to do is put a base coat of a light yellow mustard on Ferb's shirt. Then I'm going to highlight that with a very light dry brush. And afterwards I'm going to start working on painting the collar. Then it's time to paint Ferb's long pants with a dark purple that then gets highlighted by a lighter purple dry brush. This brings out all the texturing that I did with the makeup brush. I am then going to paint all the pockets a light blue color, and after that it'll be time for the shoes. Ferb's shoes have a front half that is all white, the bottom half is all white, and the top half is mostly black. If that was confusing, it was confusing for me too, but I figured I was just describing what I saw, and if you don't understand it, then take a look. Once I'm all done with the shoes, I'm going to give Ferb's hair a green base coat, and then I'm going to dry brush on a lighter green. After that, I'm going to add the same green color as with the hair onto the eyebrows, and then I'm going to start dirtying up his shoes. To do this, I'm going to make a very watered down brown wash, but then mistakenly I'm going to use a tissue to dab up the paint. I made this mistake, and it is a mistake, because it left a bunch of tissue residue on the shoe. Instead, I would recommend using a paper towel, or maybe even an actual cloth towel. After that, I'm going to actually add on the dry brushing to the hair, which took a lot of coats, so if you don't see much of a difference here, it's because I did about 20 more coats off camera. The next thing I'm going to do is paint the eyes. To make my eyes, I just start off by making a big circle of black. I then go through and paint in stripes of the color I want the eyes to be. And then to end it off, I put on a smaller dot of black paint right in the center, and then an even smaller white dot to end off the eye. And you'll also see that the eyes are not looking like they did in the thumbnail. This is because later on I realized the left eye does not look good. So I erased it by putting white paint over it, and I redid the whole eye. But with that, it's time to start painting Phineas. To start off, I'm going to paint Phineas's shirt a light yellowish orange. This is then followed by me remembering to paint Ferb and Phineas's fingernails. I do not know why I decided to do them now, but I know that if I don't do them now, I'll forget, and then in the final picture, they will all look off, because the end of their fingers will have no nails, instead just empty holes in their skin. Anyways, while I wait for the shirt to dry, it's time to give the shorts their first coat of blue. The next thing I'm going to do is add on all the orange stripes to the shirt. I take my time here because my iffy at best skills are not that great at spacing things equally amongst each other. However, even though my iffy at best skills are still present, I was still able to measure them out correctly, paint them correctly, and make the shirt look alright. Then I'm going to dry brush on a blue lighter color onto the shorts, and then I'm going to dull it back down because I thought that was too bright. Once that's all done, it's time to start working on the shoes. Now for Phineas's shoes, he has a big square white block right on the top, and so I have to make sure not to get any blue on that. Then I'm going to go back through and put white onto any pieces that are supposed to be white, and from there I can start working on the mouth. For the mouth, I'm going to add in a wash of red, dark red, pinks, purples, and some terracottas, and once that's all layered up, I'm going to go back through, paint the tongue, and then give all the teeth another coat of white. Now once that's all done, I'm going to give another brown wash like I did for Ferb onto Phineas's shoes, and this time I'm going to use paper towel instead. As previously mentioned, I'm going to go through, paint all the teeth white, and with that, it's time to start working on the hair. The hair has a base coat of a reddish, orangish paint, and that same paint is used to put on the eyebrows. Once all the eyebrows are thoroughly covered, I'm then going to start working on the eyes, which take the same process as with Ferb. A black dot that then gets stripes of blue painted in to add the color, and then a smaller black dot and a smaller white dot are added in. From there, I'm going to use my favorite substance for making mouths look a lot more mouthy, Mod Podge Gloss. I'm going to get a big glob of it on my paintbrush and put it all around Phineas's mouth. From there, I'm going to take a glob of UV resin, put it on each eye, and once it's all smoothed out and cured, it's time to start working on the stand. The first thing I'm going to do for Phineas and Ferb's stand is add a piece of wire into each hole. This is because the grass I'm adding onto the stand is not in pieces, it is in one big slab of grass. Here, you can see my big slab of grass bag. Once I pull one out of the bag, you can see it looks pretty detailed. I got this from my local Walmart in the Christmas section, as this is made for Christmas villages. Here I'm going to cut a piece that looks to be about the right size, and then I'm going to very safely score the bottom of the sheet. Then after adding it onto the stand and smoothing it out with one of my used and abused paintbrushes, it's time to add on the grass. Then, after adding the grass on with a lack of caution for my fingers, I'm then going to cut off the extra, and it's time to see what these two look like.
Ferb, I know what we're gonna do today.